I'm FACEIT Level 10 in CS2, and these are the exact settings I use to see enemies faster and win more duels. If you copy this setup today, you'll have less input lag, clearer enemies, and way more consistency. Bro, I just annihilated them. Bro, that was like aimbots. Y'all suck. I'll put my full config and crosshair code in the description below so you can copy them in 10 seconds. This is the best CS2 settings guide for 2026 if you want maximum performance, not pretty graphics. I'll go through my video settings for max FPS and visibility, my mouse and sensitivity, my crosshair and view model, sound, and a few launch options that you have to have. Now, real quick before we get into my settings to help me get to FACEIT Level 10, I want to remind you guys of 3 philosophies that I want you to carry along with you throughout this video. Number 1 is performance over looks. And what that means to you, it is your job to see the enemy and shoot first. Anything that does not benefit that, we're turning down. Number 2 is consistency over comfort. Settings that let you react the same way every round are going to help you perform better compared to some 4K preset placebo. And number 3, don't copy pros blindly. I'll show you my level 10 setup that I've already done the research on and personally tested. We're going to go to display mode. I'm going to discuss with you real quick why full screen is always going to outperform any other option you see on there. It provides lower input latency and better mouse tracking. Aspect ratio. This is a very controversial thing in the CS2 community. Honestly, I think it really comes down to personal preference. You see a lot of the pro players play 4:3 because it makes the image larger and it stretches out everything, giving you a bigger target to shoot at. It's that simple. So I'm on 4:3. As far as resolution, right now I'm playing with 1440 by 1080. Now what you'll see a lot of pros as well as me playing on is going to be 1280 by 960. I recently switched over to 1440 by 1080, and I'll be honest, I'm probably going to stick with it. My performance has not dropped because my GPU is able to keep up. If you do have a GPU that struggles at a higher resolution, you might just bump it back down to 1280 by 960. That one's always going to be great. Next, we're going to move on to refresh rate. Obviously, you're going to want to make sure you have the highest refresh rate possible selected. Now, if you have a 240 hertz monitor and for some reason you go in here and you see, oh, I'm only on 60 or I'm only on 144 and there's no 240 hertz option, I would go ahead and watch my previous video on my 610 hertz monitor and me getting it configured correctly to have the maximum performance in game. And then lastly, we have brightness. Obviously this one's going to depend on the monitor you have, how bright your monitor is, and kind of what the settings you have set on that are. But I would say 93 to 103 is going to be where you want to be in between. All right, so first up on the advanced video tab is going to be boost player contrast. You want to have that enabled. Next up is VSync. Obviously in the description it says it's going to ensure the game's frame rate matches your display rate, usually resulting in a smoother visual experience that eliminates screen tearing. I will tell you from experience, this is not going to give you a smoother experience. It's not going to compare to playing on disabled, so go ahead and disable that. Okay guys, so NVIDIA Reflex low latency is all going to depend on your PC setup that you personally have. If you have a super high tier PC, you get super great frames and you're not worried about your frames dropping a little bit, you're going to want to be on enabled plus boost. I have enabled on because on my previous PC my frames weren't the greatest. They were under 200 and I just couldn't afford to lose any more frames. Now I recently upgraded my PC, so I think I'm going to try out enabled plus boost because it does provide the lowest amount of input latency available. Alright, so first up is going to be multi-sampling anti-aliasing mode. I went ahead and put it on 4x MSA. I've seen some people have it on 8x. I think that's a little bit overkill. CS2 is not a game that was meant to look beautiful and for you to look at and be in awe about the game, right? 4x MSA, it looks decent. Obviously, you can put it to none or CMA A2 to get the maximum performance. If you are on a PC that struggles to get frames, I would recommend 2x MSAA or even CMA A2. All right, next up is global shadow quality. Now that you guys have seen that, the reason I have it on low is because I'm not worried about how much detail is in the shadow of the enemy that's coming around the corner right before I head tap. Dynamic shadows. You have two options here. You have sun only and all. What this feature does is it tells the game what to use as a light source, okay? I've had this on sun only, but I think I'm gonna switch over to all just to see if I ever notice anything inside. Next up, we have model and texture detail. Like I said before, put it on low. We don't need our game to look pretty. We want maximum performance. Then we have texture filtering mode. Once again, this is just gonna improve the look of the game itself. I have it on tri-linear. People use bilinear. Tri-linear is a good in-between. It's not going to look great, but it doesn't look the worst of the worst. Then we have shader detail. Shader detail is basically going to make smokes either look good or bad. Put it on low. I don't care how the smoke looks. I just care for its function. Particle detail is going to be right in there with what I said before on shader detail. They pretty much go hand in hand. Once again, put it on low. It's just going to degrade performance, and we don't want that. And then we have ambient occlusion. Disable it. It is taxing on the PC. Gives you no real benefit. Same thing with the very bottom, fidelity, FX, super resolution. Disable it. For high dynamic range, I will say put it on quality. Performance is going to make your game look super grainy, and it's not worth the little bit of performance gain. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for video settings inside CS2. Now let's talk about my personal mouse, DPI, polling rate, and in-game sense. For my mouse, I'm using the Razer Viper V4 Pro. Now for sensitivity and polling rate, like I said, I'm on 800 DPI and I'm on 2000 polling rate. The reason I'm not on 8000 is it does affect your CPU usage, and I've seen studies out there saying that 8000 compared to 2 really makes no difference. Now going back to you and what sensitivity you should use, I would say go anywhere between that 800 to 1600 eDPI range. Next, let's talk about Crosshair and Viewmodel. The best Crosshair is going to be static, small, no outline, bright color that doesn't blend with maps. Avoid those massive thick crosshairs that block heads and long spray duels. For Viewmodel, what I found to work best for me is pulling the Viewmodel down and in, as it gives you more screen space and less visual noise around your crosshair. I have my current Viewmodel settings set at FOV of 68, X at 2.5, Y at -1, Z at -1.5. Alright guys, as you can see, we have hopped into our audio settings, so let's discuss this for a second. First up, before we get into the settings themselves, let's talk about headsets. Make sure you're using an enclosed headset that's going to block out surrounding noise so you can stay locked into the game when playing. IEMs or in-ear monitors will also work. Just make sure that they are quality and sound good. So back to the settings, as you can see, make sure you have your headset itself set as the audio device. EQ profile, I like to run mine on crisp. LR isolation, I found 50 to be the best for me. Perspective correction, I have on no. Audio and game and background, no. Others players voice volume is 63. Play around with this a little bit. You don't want the people in your ear yelling and screaming and you not being able to hear what's actually going on in game. So just turn them a little under your in-game volume. Everything else on here is not really too important. Microphone trigger threshold, obviously you can mess with it if you want to. It's not too important. You can leave it at wherever you really want. All right guys, last up, I just want to talk about the 3 launch options I currently have in CS2. First is going to be high. This just makes sure when you launch the game, your PC is prioritizing CS2 is a high priority on your computer. Next is allowed third-party software. This is for OBS, so when I'm streaming and recording, you guys are able to see my game on stream. And then third is going to be dash refresh 610. This is just set at my monitor's maximum refresh rate, making sure every time I launch, it launches on the maximum refresh rate of my monitor. If you're still below level 10 in CS2, make sure you subscribe and turn on post notifications so you're notified for my next video, which is going to show you exactly how I climbed to level 10 in CS2. Make sure you comment your eDPI and setup down below so I can either roast you or help you out in the future. All right guys, like I said, subscribe for more high level CS2 content, and I will catch you in the next video.